Hi guys, welcome to this class. My name is Pamela and I'm the face behind Buttercut Bakery. In today's class, I'm going to show you how to cover a buttercream cake with sugar art edible sheets, and we are going to decorate this cake together. Upon purchasing this class, you're going to receive an email with a downloadable PDF. In this PDF, you're going to find the recipes I have used in this class, the tools and the equipment, in addition to a step-by-step guide of the decorating process. In the last page of the PDF, you're going to find all my social media channels and my email. You can contact me on my email if you have any questions. On my YouTube channel, you're going to find all my recipes and my decorating techniques, so feel free to check it out. Finally, I hope you enjoyed this class and thank you for watching. For this project, I'm going to be using the winter landscape set. This one has two images and I'm going to be using the top image. You can find it on the website alongside other designs. A quick tip, always put your images back in the bag and seal the bag in order for them not to dry out, because if they do, they will tear and be very hard to work with. I have a 5-inch cake covered with buttercream. As you can see, it is not a very thick layer, so you can still see the cake. The three most important things to start with before applying your sheet. 1, you need to have a cold cake, so set this in the fridge overnight. 2, you need to have a smooth buttercream because any bumps will show on the sheet. And 3, do not use the sheet on a crumb coat because you will end up with a bubbly sheet. So you're going to need vegetable shortening. This is the brand I use. Of course, you can choose any brand you prefer. I have about a teaspoon of vegetable shortening and a brush. Because this is a small cake, I did not use the whole teaspoon. Now lightly dip your brush in the vegetable shortening. Brush your whole cake with the vegetable shortening. You only need a really thin layer. Now, using your scissors, cut the image you would like to use. Make sure you cut it while it is still on the plastic. It is so much easier to do so. Make sure you put the remaining image back in the bag and seal it. So now back with our image, remove any white borders to make sure you have a clean cut. Now gently peel off your icing sheet from the plastic. This is pretty easy, just do it really slowly in order not to tear your sheet. Start applying the sheet on your cake. Make sure that you maintain a straight line at the top. If you make any mistakes, you can gently peel it off and put it back on. Gently smooth out the sheet using your hand. Make sure that it is thoroughly attached on the cake and that there are no air pockets. With the remaining vegetable shortening on my brush, I'm going to brush the borders of the image to make sure it's 100% secure. So before we continue, I did airbrush the top of my cake with navy. I didn't like it, so later I'm just gonna be painting it with some navy food gel color. You can definitely do that, or just start your project using a cake covered with navy buttercream. I have some room temperature white buttercream in my piping bag. I'm going to cover the back of my cake. This doesn't have to be perfect because we need it to look as natural as possible. Using a cake scraper or bench scraper, smooth out your buttercream. You do not need to apply too much pressure. Just make sure your scraper is at a 90-degree angle. Using your spatula, remove any excess buttercream remaining on the scraper after each use. Using the remaining buttercream in your piping bag, fill the gaps. Back with our scraper, we're going to be smoothing out the surface. We're going to be repeating this process until we're satisfied with the outcome. So step 1 is scraping out the buttercream. Step 2 is removing any excess buttercream with your spatula. Step 3, fill in any gaps. Step 4, smooth out the buttercream again. And the final result doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be adding some texture later. But just do this until you're satisfied with the result. Because we are filling all the blanks with buttercream, this sheet can be used on any cake size. So each sheet can make you 2 cakes because it has 2 images. I am using a 5-inch cake and it is 3 layers. Now we're gonna set the cake in the fridge for at least 30 minutes or until the buttercream firms up. So now the buttercream is ready, but before we proceed, I would like to point out that I did fix the top of my cake. I used some navy food gel coloring with a drop of alcohol and used my brush to simply paint the top. Again, like I've mentioned before, it's better to start with a cake covered with navy buttercream that matches the image. So this is the white buttercream I have left. It is at room temperature. I'm gonna lightly dip my spatula and dab it on the cake in order to create a texture. To make the snowflakes, I'm going to be using some white gum paste. This is the brand I use. You can use any brand you want. You can also use fondant, but make sure you add some Tylose powder to fondant because it doesn't dry as quickly as gum paste, and some brands don't dry at all. I have some corn flour or cornstarch and a brush. This is actually a makeup brush. I'm going to be dipping the brush in the cornstarch and dust my surface to prevent the gum paste from sticking to the surface. Knead your gum paste for a minute or two until the consistency is a bit elastic so it's easier to work with. Make sure not to use too much corn flour or your gum paste will be too dry to work with. If it is too dry to work with, simply add some vegetable shortening and knead it. Using your rolling pin, roll out your gum paste, and if any sticking occurs, reapply cornstarch. I have 3 snowflake cutters. These are fondant cutters and I got them from Amazon. Using my brush, I'm going to add some cornstarch to my cutters to make sure they don't stick to the gum paste. Place the cutter on the gum paste and apply some pressure to make sure it cuts through it. Then push the button to add the texture and then remove it. You simply remove the snowflake from the mold by pushing the button and it will come right off. And there you have your first snowflake. Repeat the same process for the rest of the sizes. You can make as many as you want. Make sure you make these 1 to 2 days ahead. They do take 8 hours to dry, and if it's humid they might take up to 48 hours. You can also make these a few weeks ahead. They do not go bad as long as the gum paste does not expire. If you do, store them in an airtight container away from light and in a dry place. I'm gonna cut a few of my snowflakes in half. This is the stage where you add thin wires in them. I'm just gonna be placing them on the cake because it's not gonna be transported anywhere. If you want to make sure that they are 100% secure on the cake, you can definitely add wires. I place some paper towels on my baking tray. You can definitely use baking paper, parchment paper, or anything that will prevent the snowflakes from sticking to the surface. I'm simply gonna place my snowflakes on my cake. As I have mentioned before, you can add more support by inserting some thin wires before your snowflakes dry. This is an edible silver glitter spray and I'm gonna spray my whole cake with it.